Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Park and Vine Cookbook cooking series. And today we're going to make one of the most fantastically, addictively delicious sandwiches, or parts of a sandwich, you've ever had. And this is of course the Buffalo Tofu recipe. Now, we're just going to be covering the buffalo tofu itself today. Now, there are a multitude of applications that we use it for and that we encourage you to use as well. But again, of course, be warned, this is a highly addictive substance. Now, what we're going to be using today is our extra firm tofu for the buffalo tofu itself, olive oil, red hot sauce, salt, cayenne, and potato starch or arrowroot powder for the coating of the tofu. Now the cayenne, salt, red hot sauce, and olive oil are part of the buffalo sauce itself. So before we get started, we want to make sure that our oven is preheated to approximately 450 degrees. You can use a full-size oven or just a toaster oven, up to you. If you're using a smaller oven, you might want to lower the temperature just a little bit. Now, let's get started by first cutting our tofu. So what we want to do is make sure that it's cut into 8 evenly sized strips when you have a block of tofu this size. So we're gonna cut it down the middle first. And then cut it into quarters. From there, if I'm remembering my math correctly, 4 times 2 is 8, and there we go. So these are going to be the buffalo strips themselves. Now we want to coat them in the potato starch or arrowroot powder. Now you want to get an even coating and pat off the excess. Nice, thin, even layer. It doesn't have to be super thick. You don't want it to be chunky or clumpy. And in the meantime, we might want to make sure that our griddle is heating up to about a medium hot temperature. So that way when we're ready to actually fry the buffalo tofu, the pan will be ready. So once your tofu is cut up and coated with the potato starch or arrowroot flour, we're going to then transfer it to the griddle. So we want to make sure there's a nice layer of olive oil for us to use. Make sure it doesn't stick too bad on the pan. And then we're going to transfer the buffalo tofu onto the griddle. Again, we want to make sure to spread out the olive oil, make sure it gets an even coat on the bottom of the tofu. And now we're going to heat this up and make sure it's on a medium to high temperature for anywhere between about 8 to 12 minutes. What we want to see is that the first side of the tofu is hard and crisp. So it actually takes a little bit longer than you might think because it takes a bit to get it to that really hard crispiness. It should almost be hard to the touch. And the reason for that is that once we put the sauce over it and bake it, it actually softens up again a bit. Now, while the buffalo tofu is crisping up on the grill here, we can take our time to make the buffalo sauce itself. Now, the buffalo sauce is pretty simple and straightforward, but let's make sure that we're doing it right. So this is gonna have a base of 3 tablespoons of hot sauce. We prefer the red hot brand. So we got 1, 2, and 3. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. 1. Now we'll have a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. And that's something I'll approximate with this single teaspoon. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now what we want to do is mix it together. All right, so once the tofu is done frying, we're going to cover it with the buffalo sauce and then bake it for just about 8 minutes. So let's check this first side here. So we can see it's crisping up a little bit, but it's not quite hard to the touch. So that means it needs more time. You want to make sure your tofu keeps from sticking together for optimum results. All right, so I'm gonna check this tofu again to see how it's doing on the bottom side here. And we can see that it's getting to be a little bit more of a golden brown and hard, which is what we're going for. But I'm still gonna give it just a couple more minutes on this first side here. So this first side has been cooking for about 10 minutes and it's a nice hard golden brown on the first side of the tofu. So it's ready to get flipped. Now we're gonna let the second side cook, crisp, and golden brown as well. So a quick note about why we use potato starch instead of potato flour. And the reason for that is the starch actually congeals a bit, and when you fry it up, it gives the tofu a skin-like texture. Now, granted, some people may not go for that. However, 99% of people who try this really enjoy that texture, the way that the starch forms over the tofu. But in case that's not how you want your tofu to be, you can use potato flour or another kind of flour instead, and that'll just have more of like a crispy exterior to it without the congealedness that the starch can create. Now once both sides of the tofu have been thoroughly cooked, and it does take longer than you might expect, so be patient, let it harden up, let it get crisp. Like I said, you want to see a golden brown that's hard to the touch. But once that's ready, we're then going to transfer the tofu into a baking dish, cover it with a sauce, and bake it as the final step. So once the tofu has been transferred into the baking dish, we're ready to cover it with some of the sauce. Now you don't want to use all the sauce at once, but give it a nice first coat. And then what we're gonna do is mix the tofu into the sauce. Make sure you're getting the ends covered. Sauce on here. You just want to make sure you leave a little bit of the sauce for the end, because what we're going to do is put one final top coat on the sauce before we put it into the oven. And when we're actually baking, it might improve your results if there's a little bit of space in between each bit of tofu. So like I said, we're gonna give it one final little coating of the remainder of the sauce, and this just helps retain as much flavor as possible throughout the baking process, which is gonna help finalize the buffalo tofu. And now we're ready to get the buffalo tofu into the oven. And once it's in, we're gonna bake it for about 8 minutes. Now that the buffalo tofu has baked for 8 minutes, it's ready to come out. And the final step for prepping the buffalo tofu is just to bring it out of the dish to cool. Okay, so let's recap. First, we cut the buffalo tofu, covered it with the arrowroot flour or potato starch, fried it till it was crispy, made the sauce, and then baked it in the oven. And now what we have is delicious, spicy buffalo tofu. And this can be used for making a buffalo tofu sandwich, or our favorite secret recipe that we have is called the Sammy salad. And that is in the Park and Vine cookbook, and it includes the recipe for the kale salad, the house-made Caesar that went with that, plus of course the buffalo tofu. And one final reminder, this is incredibly addictive, so be careful, share it with your friends, and have a good time. Thanks again for watching. This is Chef Zeph with the Park and Vine Cookbook Cooking Series, and I thank you for watching.